Hey everyone, there's been a lot of talk on the forums about using China to rush, particularly using Chos, and trying to kill as many possibles as opponents as possible. So I figured I'd create a video of it. Here I'm starting out. I wasn't quite sure where to start. I saw the second wheat to the right, and I figured that if I could get that in my city radius, that'd be great. So I moved down. Unfortunately, it did mean I get a whole bunch of desert tiles below, but I was hoping to get the Petra. That's kind of a 50-50 shot because it really depends on if anyone else is near a desert or plans on being near a desert. You can normally tell that because someone will go for the desert face straight away. Here you'll see I was pretty lucky straight away getting a second population boost straight away. I'm going to try and go for a 2 scout start, but with those 2 wheats right there, it's very tempting to go to the granary, or actually in this case I want to get the desert faith going straight away. So yeah, so those wheat lead to some very rapid growth, and I was, had some pretty slow cultural growth, so I'm probably going to have to purchase the squares to get them to start off with, because I didn't find a culture hut to start off with. Here I've already found the barb, and normally I hate getting upgrades. Like, upgrades to spearmen is kind of annoying, because I don't like the way that they upgrade into pikemen and into lances later on. However, in this game it actually worked out pretty well because it meant that I had the lead military, which is really useful for threatening city-states right at the start of the game. So I bought that wheat and got started going on that. I hadn't finished pottery, so as soon as I did, I wanted to get the shrine straight away. The idea is to try and get your religion or your faith as soon as possible. In this game, I think I end up finding a religious serve, so I end up getting it anyway. But we'll find out soon enough. So yeah, now you'll see that I allocated to the food and the production there. I find that really useful. I don't really like gold that early on in the game. City-states tend to give you quite a bit, and huts or ruins will give you quite a bit as well. So I tend to err towards tiles that give me production and food. These bonus tiles, typically like wheat or cows, are really good ones. Or irrigated grassland tiles or whatever, plain tiles. Not grassland. Grassland gives you 3. Um, Not much at this point. Haven't really found anyone. It looks like I'm pretty much by myself on the left-hand side of the continent. It's a fractal map, which is not the ideal map for the Cho Rush because what happens is they tend to get quite elongated, and you end up their opponents end up being on the opposite of the map. And by the time you get to them, they've already got artillery or something along those lines, so it becomes quite hard to rush. Normally, what I'd like to do on a fractal map is rush 1 or 2 people and then set up base and just grow from there. You get so much land, which was kind of at a premium, and really depends on what your opponents are doing. If they're expanding, then you probably want to continue expanding. If they're not expanding, then you probably don't want to overexpand, because what will happen is you end up, 2 versus 1 or 3 versus 1. This game was a restart, as they typically are. Probably 1 and 2 games gets off to a proper start. And in the first one, I ended up being right next to Clinton bin Clinton, and in this one, I ended up being against Clinton bin Clinton. So here, I'm kind of trying to get this granary up and running. I'm going to go with a traditional approach here. Just maybe 4 cities. I don't have room for 4, it turns out, especially with Askia right next door. So I'm probably going to go with 3 with a delayed 4th. I had an idea, you'll see further along, is that I found a natural wonder and I was going to put a city next to it, but it turned out the city-state was right next to it. Kiboka, I've played a couple of times beforehand and called him a wonder whore just because it gets him on his nerves because he always plays Egypt. And, half the time he is a wonder whore. The other time he loses. He'll love that. Anyway, so I managed to get the faith for deserts, which is really useful. And what I should have picked up on here is someone complains a little bit later on saying that they didn't get the desert faith one. when they needed it. So I should have realized that someone else was going for the Petra. At that point, I should have stopped going for it. Now see here, I was able to threaten the city-state here, and that was really useful for me. I got a 221 gold in turn 15, which is insane. So I was actually able to purchase a worker straight away. Probably not the best purchase, but it's what I really wanted to get that wheat up and running with three food in production with granary. But if you get the irrigated as well, it's 4, and that's just a huge boost. So I purchased the worker and continue exploring. As you can tell, it's really important to scout. I see a lot of people starting off with monuments first, etc., and then taking that kind of approach. Yeah, it can be useful, but by then you've missed out on a whole bunch of ruins, you've missed out on meeting city-states early, you've missed out on getting the faith bonus for finding a religious city-state. Now you notice that I moved everything to production. Weird quirk is if you're building settlers, you can actually produce negative food, and you still won't shrink. And sometimes that can lead to you being slightly quicker when producing settlers. Now you'll see there I was able to demand tribute from that civ as well. And so that's huge. I mean, that's like the equivalent of 3 gold ruins in very short succession. So money, it's not quite as good as Spain, finding a wonder, but it's still very helpful. And it got me off to a rocket start, I think. Here, speaking of Spain, it's down there. And so now I know I'm pretty much, unless I'm going to be one of those fractal maps that has that secret little isthmus somewhere that leads you, well, I suppose an isthmus is like the edge of the continent, so a little Panama that will get you to another part of the continent. I'm pretty much on the edge right there, so not going to have much room to grow. Going tradition, going to go for the, I can't remember the name of the policy, but it's the one that gives you the happiness for the population of your capital. Just because having that little bit of extra gold and a little bit of extra happy means that you stay in happiness as you're growing. I haven't bothered to get any luxury resources yet. Stole a worker. That's pretty much the extent of what I wanted to abuse the worker mechanic. In Gods and Kings you can actually keep stealing workers all day long, and the city-states will always want to make peace with you, which kind of sucks. So I don't like to abuse that, but some people do. So just something to be aware of. Yeah, so Clinton didn't know about that, and Kamoka, of course, getting me back for my comment earlier, called me cheap. And then Estes, I have no idea how you pronounce his name, is getting in for the on the joke. You'll notice that I use Zone of Control quite a bit, so if you move, see how my spearmen were next to that warrior, it's not able to get to my settler because it can only move 1 space when it's right next to my unit. It costs it two movement points. So it was kind of a neat way to maximize my moves there, and still get around and doing stuff. So now I'm going to start, because that guy can no longer just sit there, I'm moving him away and it's going to start getting that sugar in line. You notice to me that my tech is kind of all over the place. I tend to go towards text that I need, as opposed to beelining. Beelining is, you can miss out on a lot of things, especially like mining, etc. if you're beelining the Great Library, or you can miss out on trapping, or like being able to get your luxuries, etc. So I used to always beeline, and unless I'm going for a particular window, I no longer beeline. Here, you'll notice that I took the spearman right with me and left my city to deal with the barbarian. The idea being that I was scared that either Askir or the barbs would take my settler, or there would be a barb hut somewhere, and fortunately there was one, so it worked out pretty well. You'll see in a moment when I go to settle the city, Askir was just about to pop down a city in the exact same area, so I was very lucky to get that out in time. That's turn 27. It's pretty slow, It's not too bad, but there you go. He's right there. I was like, perfect. Um, there, I think I should have gone for archery straight away, which I'm pretty sure I did. Yeah, I go for an archer there. Yeah, so the important thing with China at this early stage is to build archers as soon as possible, because it boosts up your military stats. So when people look at you, they're like, "I'm not going to invade him," and also it means that you can bully city-states, and they're perfect once they upgrade into composite bows. Composite bows, 3 or 4, you can rush pretty much anyone with. Even if they're reasonably prepared, you can still do quite a bit of damage. Um, I normally like to scout out a little bit to make sure that they don't have combos as well. Otherwise, you can end up wasting a whole bunch of time and you spend all your game fighting that person back and forth. So you only want to rush someone if they're not really prepared at this stage of the game. Otherwise, you can end up wasting a lot of time and you kind of give them a heads up that you're going to rush them later on. So I'm going to go with 3 cities instead of 4. So there's not enough space for 4. Normally I go for 4. Problem with 4 is that you're dealing with happiness a lot more. 3 actually makes happiness pretty straightforward. So I was able to focus on other things instead. That was a bit of a fluke that the barbarian managed to survive that attack, but fortunately I don't think the barbarian manages to kill my spearman, so that spearman continues to come around for a long time. I don't know why people bother with declarations of friendship. I mean, especially without talking first or, offering a trade of some sort. It seems just a little bit silly, unless you're Sweden. There's no real reason for it. And if I do accept the declaration of friendship, chances are he'll just attack me anyway. So it's not really that useful. I mean, if it had like a peace treaty, it was enforced in some way, that'd be useful. So I don't want to move my settlers right towards the barbarians at this point. So you'll notice that I purchased an archer. So now I have 2 archers. And I'll probably have 4 or 5 pretty soon. That's really useful for defense, both against barbarians and also aggressive other players. Fortunately, I'm China, so I'm the aggressive other player in this game. So yeah, this turned out to be kind of a stink starting spot. I mean, it's the best of what I had. There was, like, with all these city-states everywhere, there wasn't much of an option. You'll see up there, I was looking at the natural wonder and thinking, that's great, but you can see right there, there's a little bit of purple and black, which shows that it's a city-state. Soldiers I'm not first in, so obviously, people have been building up a little bit, maybe upgraded a couple of units or something along those lines. So I'm no longer be able to bully city-states. So I just stopped doing that for now. I'll do it later on as I'm attacking because it's kind of useful, and it's only when I really go by next them and see that it goes orange. Long-term bullying city-states is not the best strategy. It tends to cost you in the long run. Because it takes, you don't get the missions, and the missions are really helpful. You'll see later on this game, if I end up going all the way through, it really backfires me long term because everyone else is able to ally all the city-states and I have no allies, and yeah, it kind of hurts. But the reason I videoed this game was actually to show you how to rush with Joes, not when to stop rushing with Joes. I think in this game, it's a fractal game, you probably want to take out 2 opponents, one with comps and the other one with Joes, or both with Joes if they're got defenses set up. This is a weird bug. I don't know if you guys have noticed, is that if you offer a treaty to someone and they don't respond in a couple of turns, sometimes it just freezes up and you can't talk to anyone. It's really annoying. It'd be good if they fix that sometime. But I'd rather they've concentrated on gameplay breaking bugs like the fact that Joes are far too powerful, or that city-states are pushovers before they fix little gimmicky things like that. I go for food here. The food actually helps with settler production a little bit. So normally with 4 cities, it helps you get that last settler out pretty quick. You can see that I've got 148 gold again. This is mostly from city-states, but once these libraries get online, that's when China really shines, because not only do you have a really strong unit to upgrade into that is chose, you have a building that instead of costing you money gives you money. So it really encourages you to build these libraries and then go for something like the National College. So normally, a traditional player will go, or like a traditional player might go OCC and build their library and get the National College, and then go to education and get universities online, etc. I try to leave the universities to a little bit later on, mostly focusing on growth to start off with, because I find once I get growing, it's really helpful for production, etc. So I can build those universities pretty quickly. I'm a little bit behind on tech up until probably turn 100 or so, but I get the key techs that I want. And so the great thing about China is it's very harmonious for going for machinery and also going for tradition at the same time. Because tradition, you want construction, so you can get the free aqueducts once you finish your policy tree, and machinery is not that far from there. In this game, it's even better because currency is on the way, which gives me the Petra. Unfortunately, as you probably saw before in the chat window, someone was already looking to get the Petra, and I think if they haven't got it yet, they get it really soon. So by the time I start thinking about the Petra, they've already got it, and that was the Dutch. And they have an absolutely amazing city placement. They've got like a whole bunch of desert that's not floodplains that they can actually take advantage from for the Petra. They're right next to a mountain, so they get crazy science. They've got a river. I think they've got everything that they ever wanted. There you go, you'll see that. As well as an oasis there. And an oasis, one of the glitches, I guess, with the Petra is that the floodplains you don't normally get the bonus for, but plains or desert parts that are next to the oasis get the bonus because it's fresh water, and so you end up getting some pretty killer tiles around the oases there. So I really wish they came up with a Petra for the tundra at some point. I mean, it seems like the game's kind of heavily favoring desert over tundra at this point, with desert faith generator being insanely good, and having Petra, whereas tundra gets a faith generator if you haven't cleared the forest. I mean, if the forest is cleared on it, so it's kind of like only if the tundra is really useless and you're never going to use those squares, do you get faith from them. So whereas with the desert one, it gives you faith for even some pretty cool desert squares, because desert hills are worth two hammers, and floodplains are good food generating squares. So it seems pretty unbalanced to me. So here you'll see I've just upgraded all my comps. You'll notice that I deliberately delay getting the combo technology. You'll see me doing that quite often. The reason why I do that is I want to pump out as many cheap archers as I can, and then upgrade them all. In this game I actually over-created archers. I probably could have created one less archer, because I didn't have the cash to upgrade them all. Here the important thing is to be about 2 moves away from shooting on Gao, but not get seen by Askia. So let them see a weak unit, like maybe a warrior or something like that. So it just looks like you're exploring, or a free unit, like I got that Chariot Archer, which I befriended a city state. I don't even know how. It was a random gift. It was awesome. And here I notice again, see I can demand tribute from Makarash, and that really helps because I'm able to upgrade my other 2 archers. Here I'm just like, hey look, I've got a silly horse, but what I really was doing was actually scouting to see if he had any units in Gal, which he didn't. So at this stage I'm thinking that he has no units at all. Unfortunately, information screen, the F9 screen, doesn't tell you what people in the middle have, which is kind of frustrating because like it tells you who the worst military is and the best military, but it doesn't tell you all the people in between, which kind of sucks. I reckon you should be able to, like if you have a spy somewhere, you should be able to get more details or something along those lines. Instead of stealing tech, I'm not a great fan of the new espionage. I use it, but not a great fan of it. Um, Here, that scout kind of got trapped in there. That was a bit silly. I made a couple of silly mistakes there. So my scouting kind of stopped, and that actually that was a lot of penalized me a lot in the rest of the game actually, because I wasn't really sure what was going on over in the Dutch lines. Here, I start moving in. Here we go. So I got 4 of them. My Spearman's fully healed. That guy is just going to hang back. I demand the tribute, which I don't know if I use it to upgrade that final unit. You also notice that I like horse riding, just because you can keep the horse way back and take a city from afar. So once you do all the damage, you just run on in. Common responses to this kind of attack. Really, you should put construction early in your build order. You should have it, around about now, and have archers, because that's going to be your best defense. If you don't have that, you're kind of screwed. Horses can help because you can hit them from afar, but they're kind of outnumbered. Here, you'll see that Gao had a whole bunch of units, but they're all kind of old units. They were spearmen and they were archers. They just didn't really have a chance, and they were also very far away from its border. I think he was worried about Spain, so that worked out to my advantage. Poor Askia lasts like 50 something turns. So that's a little bit unfair. But it's expanding. He was going to die anyway as soon as I got chose. So this way he can go find a new game quicker. Enjoy that. It's amazing how malicious playing China makes you. For Russians, etc. I'm normally prefer civs like the Aztecs, but like peace-loving Aztecs, where you just sit back and protect your borders, maybe build the Great Wall, and build all the buildings. But this is kind of fun. This is a very different type of game. It helps you with your click speed. Helps you with mechanics for placing units, etc. You learn, how to quickly get what units to leave where. As you can see, people were pretty surprised by 51. 51 is pretty slow. I've seen people out of the game in the 20s and 30s. Dynastis was right on. 5 comps, but 3 is close enough. He actually looked like he could take it back here. It wouldn't have done him any good. Apart from taking that spare man, which would have been a problem for me because I don't have any units. However, I've got a horse being generated and he can get over there really quickly. So again, horses are great, not only for jumping in, but also for getting to where they need to be really quickly. Upgrades. Maybe one thing I could improve on, I think, with China is maybe not going with barracks and armory. It's actually really handy having those health upgrades rather than the cover upgrades, etc. Especially later on in the game where I get starting to get hit with horses, etc. So the cover's not really helping me that much. So it looks like Askia is going to go down. So now I'm starting to wonder. We've got my Great General really early, which is very useful. That's another. In this case, China. I don't know if China has a natural improved rate of Great General, but it definitely has with when you use the chose. But in those Great Generals tend to be more effective as well. So I tend to try not to get into citadel battles unless someone has the Great Wall, which someone does in this game towards the end. This video I'm only going to do to the second civ I take out, just because otherwise my throat would be dry and I would start losing my voice halfway through this, which I'm kind of already doing. Here you'll see I'm going for the National College, which is really useful. That's really how I get my science up and keep up with people that go and get the universities or go down the education path. I probably could have really done with civil service, but engineering is probably better for me right now. I'm not actually sure why I went engineering here. Didn't quite need it yet because, as you can see, I'm not ready to get the last culture of tradition. So I could have waited a little bit. Oh, I know, I was rushing chose. So here I'm on turn 54. At this point, I was looking pretty good for a 75-ish turn for chose, which is a little bit late. If I'd been a little bit, like I was very lucky with the huts, but different orders of the huts are actually better. Getting the culture one's really handy because it gets your growth even faster in your capital. Here I was like debating whether to attack that scout that was in the way. Problem is, this turns out to be a very voyeuristic game. People love sending scouts to see what's happening on the other side of the map, and when they see a conflict, everyone wants to bring their scout. And at one point, you'll see 3 scouts looking on as I take on Tombuktu, I think it is. So here, you'll notice that I didn't go straight in and roll on to the next one. I figured that even though my opponent hadn't left, which Clinton, thank you, that's great. You'll see why in my second video or third video, why it's very important for you to stay on the game if you can, because it makes it very much harder for the the aggressor to take over the rest of your cities, which can slow them down and give enough time for everyone else to regroup. So if you can, it's really good. I know it sucks, but I kind of, in the situations where I'm outplayed, I try to hold on as long as possible, just to give everyone else a fair chance, and also to practice defense, and also think about what I would have done differently on their offensive. You'll also notice that there's kind of a lack of roads. I typically, unless I've gone to war, unless I'm going to a longer war, I don't do roads for quite a while. In this game I actually start roading out pretty quickly, just so I can get units down to Spain. But typically I don't bother connecting my cities because you get so much gold from your libraries, you're better off, getting your cities growing. As you notice, I've had pretty much no problems with happiness at this stage. Fortunately, I got the religion I really like. I really like getting the one happy in every city that gets the religion, especially once you start spreading it. Unfortunately, I didn't get religious texts in this game, which does all the spreading for you. And I kind of neglected religion at the end of the game because I was too busy fighting. You also notice that I only really had the 2 cities near the desert, and most of those desert tiles weren't really usable ones, so it didn't work out as well as what I had hoped. But I did get a couple of happiness out of it. Clinton, I think, was quite well prepared. I mean, if he had got comps, he would have actually been pretty tough to attack. I probably would have gone and seen, if I'd seen 2 or 3 comps, I would have withdrawn straight away and not even bothered. He would have gotten a heads up, but he would have not then, put 2 and 2 together and realized I'm going to have chose and probably quit. It tends to be the general progression. So here, now I was able to take Tombuktu pretty quickly with fully head units and didn't lose any bows. That's actually kind of important early on because a unit, is pretty hard to build at the start of the game and pretty costly. And so if you can avoid losing any, that's great. You'll see here, I first of all rejected his offer for peace, which was hilarious. So sorry, Clinton, if you're watching this. But the other thing you'll notice is that I actually moved my units to take the workers. Now, normally, that's not something I normally think about, but it's great because normally if you take their last city, those settlers disappear. I mean, those workers disappear, and you've missed out on getting a whole bunch of free workers. Now, with all these free workers, I'm able to build the roads I need and also upgrade these cities. Now, my general feeling is that Tombuktu wasn't quite where I would have put it. Especially with the Spain city so close, so I wanted to raise it and put my own city probably near the mountains so I can get the observatory, which I don't end up building, but that was my general feeling at this point. Unfortunately, I made kind of an amateur mistake of unpuppeting that city before I built the National College. So that delayed my National College a little bit, which was a bit silly. But, you learn. You think actually you'd learn. I keep making that mistake over and over. So National Wonders, just be really careful not to raise cities. Because otherwise you go back to, like it can delay you a bit of time. Otherwise, also purchasing, not purchasing cities, but depuppeting them. Be careful you're not building a national wonder or got one on the cards. The two that really are important are Ironworks and National College. National College is huge for a traditional serve. Not so much for a wide, but for a traditional it's huge. And the Ironworks allows you to outsource your production a little bit. I don't like to have a massive capital that does all my production. I like to have 3 or 4 cities that have a lot of production. So normally I'll send out my grade engineer and settle next to one of the cities, and then to the other city I'll do the Ironworks. Kind of balances out your production. It's also really important if one of your city, like your capital is not on the coast and you're playing on a continent's map, and you need to be able to build ships, etc. It's really good having that production not in your capital. Here in this game, however, what am I doing? Oh, I'm thinking about where to place my city. You can tell, like I ambitiously, as I was playing the game, tried to move my mouse and circle little things to remind me to talk to you guys about that. Unfortunately, this video seems to go really fast, and I'm not able to keep up. So I don't get to talk about half the things I point out, and forget about half the things I was talking about. So onto the shows. Now you'll see at this point 4 turns to guilds, which means machinery is just around the corner, so I'm looking at 74. Notice that I pull back here. Very important not to attack an opponent that has reasonably good defenses. He's got a very good defensive position. I have to move units into those jungles before they can shoot. So they'll take damage before they even get a shot off. And he has comps, so it's gonna be pretty tricky. So instead, I decided to hold back and wait 9 turns till I can upgrade all my units. You'll see that my gold's been mounting up. Again, 22 gold is quite a lot per turn at this point, and that's mostly due to the libraries. Now, you'll see that I was thinking about doing the Great Wall here. That's not because I need the defense, it's because I don't want someone else taking that defense. And it's greedy, and I kind of went back and forth on it and decided I really wanted that 4th city in that position instead. That was a mistake. I should have gone for the Great Wall, because that would have made it much easier later on to take on any other civs, because if any of the civs further away, and in this case, here's looking at you, Netherlands, build it, then I'm going to have a real tough time, even with Chose, getting through. So here you can see all the scouts, Egypt, Dutch and Spain all having a look, and also I think I had a scout there somewhere. So yeah, oh, it's over there on the right. So 4 scouts on one screen, that's great. Big party going on. Here I'm just exploring the land. You'll notice that my scout has +1 vision. I tend to always try and get my scouts involved in fights early on so I can get that vision upgrade. It's really helpful for exploring. Even if all the ruins are gone, it's great for finding wonders quickly, for finding city-states, for finding other people, getting the lay of the land. Scouting is just so valuable. So yeah, all those people setting off the monument, I mean, there's definitely specific strategies that call for it, especially if you want to get your settler or free worker really quickly with Liberty. But I really think you should spend the 3 or 4 turns and get a scout in there, because they can quickly change the game. Like, for example, I got the +1 population really quickly, which saved me 4 or 5 turns. It would have been better probably to get it 2 or 3 turns later. So I went from 2 to 3, but yeah, still. If I was Spain, I probably would have attacked me by now. Like attack my horse or attack my scout, just because there's no way I'm not going to attack you. I mean, I've just taken a civ, I've got a lot of military, I'm worried about the maintenance costs of that military, I want to make the most of it. I'm China, I'm going to upgrade them. Positive thinking, yeah, there's a lot to be said about that. A lot of negative things to be said about positive thinking, I guess. But no, I think yeah, you really do need to just bite the bullet and just see that they're going to attack you. I kind of do some positive thinking a little bit later on where these scouts are still wandering around and I know they're going to cut into my trade routes. I just feel it. But I let them still explore, etc. I should probably kill them off, especially if I knew I was going to go against everyone, which I knew I was going to do and everyone else seemed to know as well. Yeah, as you can see, I'm not concentrating on military, even though I've already concentrated on military. I've got the military I need. So now I'm just building the economy. So I don't have that many units. So that's why I'm very careful about not losing them at this point. Got some more gold. Now I've got 563 gold. So that's going to be enough easily to upgrade all my chos. So I'm actually tempted to buy another comp, I guess, because then I can get one more cho. Yeah, so now it's just waiting the 4 turns that I need. So 74, so pretty early. It's not incredibly early, but it's enough to get most people off guard. Even having crossbows at this point, even if they weren't chos, would be pretty powerful. But the fact that they're chos and can shoot twice makes all the difference. They really are overpowered, and this is just a demo of how so. I might have said earlier, I don't actually go on to win this game. Ended up running out of time. I did let everyone know about 2 hours beforehand that I was going to have to quit in about 2 hours, and we didn't manage to finish the game in that time frame. That was probably 2 hours from this point. So 4 hours all up. So the game can go on for a long time. And because you'll see later on, circumstances change quite a bit. Led to a much longer game. So here Egypt really wants my furs, but I only have 1 copy of the furs, so there's no way I'd want to give them away for free effectively. So be very careful of that. When people offer you, always go to modify and check to see what they're offering you. Don't give away a copy for free, because your happiness doesn't go up, their happiness goes up, and it's not a win-win at all. Also, typically, if they're asking specifically for one, it's the one that they need for We Love the King or whatever. So, unless you really want to be chummy, I wouldn't do that. Made a slight tactical error here. My worker got in the way of my settler, but there's worse things that can happen, like getting invaded by chos, for example. So I've faced a couple of cho rushes before. I find probably the most effective way to do it, to counter it, is horses. Horsemen are not going to cut it. You really need knights. They can do quite a bit of damage, especially if you get the wounded unit promo. So it's worth maybe barracks and armory. If you have a Chinese opponent, start thinking about how you're going to defend against the chos as soon as possible, because if you've watched this video, they're going to do pretty much the same thing, or probably a better version of the same thing. I'm just kind of learning it and playing around with it now, but I'm sure there's people that have been working on it to perfection. And here we go, so upgrade time. So now they've got them, there's 2 approaches I can take here. One is education, to start getting caught up in technology. I really should have gone metal casting first, because production matters more at this point. Still, I'm not that far. Yeah, dynasticism is really far away from everyone else. I really, after taking Spain, that would be the time to stop normally, but I wanted to test how far you can go with Joe's and still have a pretty effective battle. So here I come in. You notice I built the road right up to his border so that I can sneak into his border mostly on that turn. I kind of miscalculated slightly, as you'll notice. So only one unit got in, which is a bad mistake. So that's it could get hit by 3 different units that turn. I didn't do anything mean like shift clicking or waiting till the end of the turn or anything like that. I wanted to be pretty honest. I mean, it's horrible enough playing China, let alone being cheap and doing shift clicks or last minute moves and that kind of stuff. Same with abusing the city states. I had a whole bunch of city states around me. I could have just gone around and taken workers all day long instead of buying them or building them. Instead, I stole them off poor Askia. But try not to abuse those mechanics. I mean, people will do it, and let them do it. I mean, they might win, and that might be sad, but I think it's kind of a hollow victory. I don't know. Each their own. I still feel kind of a little bit cheap about bullying all those city states early on, to be honest. So I think that needs a little bit of work. Like you shouldn't be able to bully city states unless you've actually damaged them, or maybe you have to go to war against them for 10 turns or something, or it should have a massive impact on their feelings towards you, or maybe they backstab you or something. But as it is right now, being able to bully that early in the game and get 100 gold is just ridiculous. It's just too powerful. Along with the fact that there's Austria that can buy city-states now. There just needs to be a little bit of work around the city-states. I think city-states are fantastic. They're great, and I like the idea of bullying them. I just think that it could do with some balancing. Again, could have gone with a Great Wall. Should have. It would have delayed me, but in this game, it would have been really useful because I was trying to demonstrate how powerful Cho Rusters were. So I was kind of like hybriding between long term and also demonstrating the Cho Rush. Around now, I like to actually stop producing Chos normally, and I will just, consolidate after taking Spain. I think I've got enough units there to take Spain, especially with a great general there. And so I should just come back, consolidate my economy, and win from there. Before I really annoyed everyone, because for 2 reasons. One, it's really hard to fight battles from a very far distance when it takes you 7 turns to get your units out there. If you're thinking about you've just got a technology for a unit, you might be able to upgrade some of your units that are nearby, but as you're hammering out the replacements for those upgrades, they're going to take 6 or 7 turns to get there, which can be pretty painful. Yeah, here, I mean, Cho rushes, there's not really much to worry about as far as your placement. I mean, I like to use, you'll see that I'm in rough terrain a lot, so I don't know if you get bonuses from being in rough terrain with against archery units, but bang, there goes Barcelona, gone like that. As you can see, the horse is just fantastic. Being out of shot, you can just jump across through that. I was talking about before about countering Cho rushes. Another thing to do is to counter their melee unit. Whether that be take it out from behind or not. Okay, so that's pretty much all I've got time for in this video. What I will do in the next video is show you it's kind of boring because it's just taking on Spain for a little bit, which is AI, so it's kind of pretty straightforward. But the attack continues, and also what happens once your opponents get teched up. Cool. Well, I hope you guys all found this helpful. I hope not too many of you end up cho rushing after this, and more importantly, I hope they think about patching them in future releases. So yeah, I'll leave any feedback in the comments, and I'll try to improve my jokes or my presentation in the next video. Thanks.